Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, he's our guy, Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department, here with some information and maybe some speculation about the Minnesota Vikings. You were out there with your own 2 eyes, sort of witnessing which players are coming back healthy or not as the Vikings get back on the field. So we'll dive into, we'll look forward here to this Eagles game, Dukes. But how much weight are you down here in the last month from the Awaken 180 game plan? Uh-oh, Doogie's muted. You're muted. Or can't there?
I can't hear him.
You guys got me okay
there
now?
We go, we got you now.
There you go. Welcome back to the show.
There he is. Darren Doogie Wolfson, media
you would
professional.
think after all these months, even in this Hubbard broadcasting dungeon, I would know how to utilize the mute button, the on button, the off button. But hey, learn something new every time we do one of these. But I'm glad you guys got me now. Phil, I am down 17 pounds starting week 6 on my Awaken 180 weight loss plan. So, hey, even though it's not a Thursday, it's a Tuesday, I proudly wear my Reckless Speculation for the YouTube audience, Reckless Speculation Score North merch.
Look at that.
But there's nothing reckless about the Awaken 180 weight loss plan. It's simple. It's slow and steady. It's gradual. That's why I know it works. There are no quick fixes. I'm losing like 2 to 3 pounds a week. That is perfect. No calorie counting, no medication necessary. Exercise also not necessarily. For me, more importantly is I feel energized. Phil, you're one of those guys who sends text messages to people at 7:05 a.m. For me, the cutoff is 8 a.m. I don't text anyone before 8.
Is that too
I don't
aggressive?
mow my lawn in the summer before 8 a.m. But Phil, you're a texter at 7:05 a.m. Well, guess what? You knew this morning I, A, would be up, and be energized enough, not groggy, but to be able to text you back immediately. That's thanks to Awaken 180 Weight Loss, awaken180weightloss.com. Love their protein shakes, love their chocolate pudding. It's a simple plan. Protein at night, mix in veggies, when to eat, why to eat, what you're eating, how to eat properly, all of that, what to eat, they educate you. Free consultation, schedule it. Awaken180weightloss.com. Again, awaken180weightloss.com. I'm telling you, if it works for me, it can work for you. My triple chin is now like a double. Like I've actually lost a good amount of just skin in my face. That is a really good feeling. Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken180weightloss.com. All right, let's talk some Vikings.
Yeah, so you were out there observing. The Vikings are back at practice here, and we'll get the official first look at the injury report tomorrow because Wednesday is the first day when you play on Sunday that they put that out. So let's just who do you think is tracking to be back healthy for this Sunday's game against the Eagles based on just your early observations, or what did you observe yesterday?
All right, and you still have me okay because this thing is getting goofy.
Oh, it is muted again now.
Is going on. I just hit it. Now you have me, right?
Now we got you. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very weird. I promise I'm not touching anything. I'm really not. Maybe it's like the Vikings gremlins. They don't want me to expose what's going on. They're trying to keep all these secrets. Okay, it looks like I'm good. I will continue to watch this icon. Okay, so Donovan Jackson back. I mean, there was a reason strategically why he underwent the surgery in Southern California when he did. He was always tracking to be back for the Eagles game. Same goes for Blake Cashman. We've talked about Blake going back a number of weeks, hurt week 1 in Chicago, hamstring. He spoke with a few of us after practice on Monday. He is tracking. Yeah, I mean, we need to see how he feels Wednesday, Thursday, specifically Thursday coming off a Wednesday practice, Friday coming off Thursday practice. But Blake Cashman tracking to return. Okay, the question marks. J.J. McCarthy. I saw him moving. You know, we had about 8 minutes of visual access, right? So it's not like I had a whole big sample size, did not even see him throw one pass in those 8 minutes that a few of us had access to on Monday. But watching him stretch, move around during stretching looked okay. But we need to see how he feels Thursday coming off a Wednesday practice. But he is going to practice this week. In fact, I won't even be shocked if he's a full go at some point this week. Then they will make a determination. I think by Thursday night, they will know. It's a matter of when does it leak? When do we know who the starting quarterback is on Sunday? But I firmly believe by Thursday night, after that Thursday practice, internally, they will know. Brian O'Neill, brace on his right knee, but encouraging to see him out there. Now, right after practice, he declined to comment. He said, hey, he's on a silent count, right? Like, he can't be talking to us, right? He's been muzzled. He's been silenced. He said, I can't provide any injury updates. Now, he did go into the weight room immediately after practice to continue, it looked like, his rehab. So I still think he's a question mark, big time question mark. Like, I think he'll be limited at best in practice this week. So it still might be a little bit of time, but encouraging that he's not far off. Andrew Van Ginkel, the neck, was working off to the side. From what I could gather, looked pretty good. He stayed here in town during the bye, received treatment throughout all of last week. Like, he's not far away. It may not be Sunday, but we're not talking about many weeks from now. Michael Juergens, hamstring, I would put him in the same category as Brian O'Neill. Then there's guys like Aaron Jones, who to me is tracking in a good spot. Can't return for Sunday's game, but could he be back as soon as a week from Thursday in LA against the Chargers? Wouldn't rule that out. Okay, short week. So if not that game, the Lions game. But Aaron Jones isn't far away. Then Ryan Kelly, that is still going to be multiple more games. I imagine a little bit of reckless speculation here on a Tuesday, but I imagine there are bigger conversations being had when he's had multiple concussions in such a short amount of time. And over the course of his career, going back to Alabama, now into the NFL, we're talking, 5 or 6 documented concussions. Those are larger conversations that are to be had or already being had. So I can't tell you anything about Ryan Kelly long term, but all these other guys, they're all tracking to be back in the next couple of weeks.
Dukes, what did you read into, or what was your personal synopsis of what Kevin O'Connell said about the quarterback situation and whether Wentz or McCarthy starts on Sunday? Which way did you feel he was leaning in his comments?
Well, I mean, last week I felt like you're like, okay, give us what you think. What is your opinion? If it gets aggregated, hey, so be it. That I said last week, Carson Wentz against the Eagles. I guess I'm not wavering from that. I need to see more, need to hear more from KOC. I mean, he said a lot. I mean, he even admitted, I'll give KOC credit. At one point, one answer, he said, hey, this will probably be interpreted as some sort of word salad. So at least there's self-recognition of the word salad. So I got a chuckle out of KOC referencing his word salads. But yeah, I am still leaning, right, subject to change. And I'm telling you, I don't think they know right this second. I wish they knew, so maybe I could dig a little bit further and absolutely nail this thing down and find out. But if you're asking me right now, 5 days out, yeah, I still lean what I said last week.
I love the word salad Derek Falvey could be a little more self-aware with his word salad. I'd love to see a word salad off between Derek Falvey and Kwesi's probably the word salad master for the Vikings, even more than Kevin. I'd love to see a word salad off between Minnesota sports executives. Let's make it happen.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Yes. Sign me up. John Hines. Judd, you're around John a little bit more than me, but John at times, not that he's like long-winded.
Yeah, he's not long-winded enough.
He's not offering a whole lot, so I guess it's how you interpret word salad. But yeah, I mean, certainly Falvey and KOC referencing himself, mixing in some word salads. Yes, a KOC Falvey face-off. Absolutely, sign me up. Judd, do you feel differently? So you weren't there, but I'm sure you listened or watched.
I watched it.
Where do you stand?
Wentz. I found it to be very interesting that I think it was to Kevin Seifert's first question about it, that O'Connell went into pretty good detail about the fact that they spent a lot of time last week during the bye working on McCarthy's mechanics and basically going back to square one. And I think part of that, Dukes, is this. I think JJ McCarthy's mechanics and practices are fine, but I think what they found is the first 3 quarters of the Bears game, and more importantly, the Falcons game, that they start to disintegrate when the pressure is on. And I don't know if they were surprised by that, but it was definitely something that has to be fixed, and clearly is not an issue necessarily on Wednesday and Thursday in practice. So what I interpreted was we are going to see Carson Wentz on Sunday. You know what, on Thursday, I have no clue after that. But I came away with, I'm going to be surprised now if J.J. McCarthy starts that game.
Well, and it was also interesting that, once again, Judd, you brought this up a few weeks ago, but now KOC brought it up again, how JJ's only had one full-fledged practice after the Bears game, right? So missed some time, birth of his child, that week leading into the Atlanta game. And so yesterday was such a light day. Like, that wasn't any sort of, like, real practice. They were on the field for about an hour, if that. So I'm not counting yesterday. So, like, are you throwing JJ out there after just a Wednesday and Thursday practice that he may not even be a full go both days? Like, one of those days I wouldn't be shocked. But him referencing just the one practice post-Bears game also just kind of steers me in the direction of I wouldn't be shocked if it's Wentz on Sunday.
Yeah, I think, Dukes, we did a really deep dive into the short and long term of the quarterback situation on a second episode of Purple Daily today, which people can check out. But I think in the short, like long term, I'm still buying stock. Give me your JJ stock long term. But short term, it feels like it's less about the high ankle right now. And Kevin O'Connell talking about getting back to the base and the mechanics and the footwork that were part of his journey throughout the training camp process. It kind of feels like he's saying, yeah, his footwork, when the live bullets are flying and he's trying to process, his footwork's kind of gone to crap, is how I interpret that. So my question is, how can you sort of get him up to speed on the fly in the middle of a season where he has lacked a ton of practice time, without just throwing him into the fire kind of unprepared? I almost, like, if I could really panic and go out further, I would say a lot of the stuff that they're looking at fixing is off-season stuff. Like how do you if you're not good with his footwork and it's week 7 and it's the Eagles and the Lions and you're trying to make the playoffs, how do you fix that in season is my existential question here.
Okay, you have so much faith in KOC, Josh McCown, others in Egan that it can happen on the fly. But I'm with you, Phil. Like, I really truly believe if McCarthy was in a really good spot and just watching him move in that tiny amount of time on Monday, that he plays on Sunday. So, yeah, so there probably is a little bit more. And, hey, it was a pretty open-ended question, and KOC turned it in that direction. Yeah, KOC was asked directly about JJ, but it's not like it was specifically about mechanics and all that, right? There was some corner turning there, if I recall correctly. And so, yeah, I'm buying what you're selling there, Phil. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't know how you fix it on the fly, but I guess you just say, okay, McCarthy, incredibly intelligent. Nobody would deny that, right? You talk to his people in high school and at IMG Academy as well, Nazareth and at Michigan and all that, right? And they speak to how intelligent this young man is, that it can just click. But I'm with you. I don't know how you fix it on the fly, but I also firmly believe we will see JJ McCarthy back in there. Like, I'm not wavering on that. And hey, it was a legit high ankle sprain, so this isn't, some sort of soft benching going back to the Pittsburgh or Cleveland games. Like, he wasn't ready health-wise, physically, to play in those games. I'm just saying, like, when the injury occurred, like, this Eagles game was always the intended target. And now, just as we're sitting here 5 days out, like, we're wavering. We're saying we think at this point signs point to Carson Wentz. So why exactly did that timeline change? And so I think it's a worthy discussion. I really do.
Hey, on the defensive side of the ball, you brought him up. Blake Cashman, they opened his 21-day window to practice, so a decision has to be made within the next 3 weeks or so. But do you think there is a chance that he plays on Sunday? Because clearly the struggles of the run defense, I don't know they'd be fixed completely, but they would definitely be helped by his return.
Yeah, I mean, he's trending in that direction. He's always been trending in that direction. Yes, I get it. We need to see how he recovers Thursday after the Wednesday practice, Friday after the Thursday practice. But yes,
right.
Judd, I mean, the target has always been post-bye. Miss the minimum 4 games, much like CJ Ham, right? Activated, boom, yes, 21-day window opens, but immediately back in the lineup. Yeah, I anticipate Blake Cashman, green dot, quarterback of the defense, going back to being the communicator. We know how good the Vikings can be on defense when he's in there. Like, yeah, okay, we can debate one person. Does he make that much of a difference? But go back to last year, like, that's the story of Blake Cashman. To me, unreal talent. Just find a way to stay healthy, but it's every year you have to anticipate he's going to miss some length of time. The talent is undeniable against the run, against the pass. To me, elite talent-wise linebacker. But like at this point, I don't know how you can ever pencil him in for even 16, let alone 17 games. Like, he's going to miss some amount of time. But yeah, he's tracking. I anticipate he plays on Sunday.
Just a totally different side street off the defensive conversation. But as part of our State of the Vikings episode, we go through kind of where they rank. And here we are. We're getting toward the halfway point of the season here in a couple weeks. And the Vikings, once again, just like last year, have like a top 5 scoring defense, top 10 yardage defense. So Flores has come in here and has built one of the best defenses in the league, one of the best pressure defenses in the league. So I think, and there's been some progression in his legal case against the NFL, but Brian Flores' stock has gone up the last 2 or 3 years because he's built another great defense. And Tua continues to step in it over in Miami. Whatever credibility Tua had like 3 years ago in sort of denigrating Brian Flores and saying he treats his quarterbacks poorly. We heard that Flores thought that Tua was soft. Let's just put it that way, right? And now here's Tua just exhibiting terrible leadership traits as the Dolphins quarterback. I think a lot of people now after 3 years are looking at Brian and saying, boy, that dude can build a defense. And if we're being honest, he was right about Tua. Maybe he didn't handle it perfectly, but he was kind of right about Tua. So I do wonder, as this season continues to progress, the Brian Flores stock continues to rise here, what that will mean for him in the February-March hiring period in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know if it happens next February or March, Phil, but I do think eventually, I think he's going to get, he's young enough, another opportunity. I still think there needs to be full closure on the litigation front, but yeah, resume-wise, yes, absolutely. Now, you start looking around, like, okay, Tennessee is open. Well, I imagine they hire an offensive-minded head coach with Cam Ward, right? And so, like, who's hiring? Now, the Jets did, but, like, who's hiring a defensive-minded head coach? And I get it. If you hire the right offensive coordinator, get the right offensive staff in place, just find the right leader. But, like, the rejected jobs, I mean, I know you've been on the Cincinnati bandwagon for a bit, that if they make a move on Zach Taylor, although I don't know, are you letting Zach Taylor go when Joe Burrow goes down that early? But maybe Cincinnati potentially, but I don't know if it happens in February or March. Maybe it's Zach Taylor gets one more run at this thing with a healthy Joe Burrow next year. And at that point, February or March of 2027, if it hasn't worked out, maybe Flores to Cincinnati then makes more sense.
I think it's one of the most interesting things involving Brian is the fact that as of right now, as far as we know, and coordinators' contracts aren't talked about a lot, but he is in the last year of his contract here. So I guess my question would be...
We've been told to dig on that, though, right, Judd? I mean, I've tried.
Yeah,
That's
but
an
I'm just saying...
question. I don't know if you brought that up or not, but it's
I've heard
on
different,
my radar.
I've heard different things, but my point is, if he is not re-signed yet, because I'm with you, I don't think he gets a head coaching job until this suit is done, and this thing is carried on and on and on. And he's actually, Brian has gotten favorable rulings in it, but as far as the coordinator position goes, would some team pursue him and try to break the bank? Now, I think the Vikings would probably match, but he could be a very hot commodity if he has not signed an extension on the coordinator market. If he left as a head coach, though, I wonder if he would try to take McCown to be his OC. Now, I think he's got a good chance himself at a head coaching job. probably depends a little bit on how the McCarthy thing goes down here. But there's definitely some interesting tentacles when it comes to the Vikings assistants and what could take place starting in probably March.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's another guy, right? Like Josh McCown is interviewed for head coaching jobs.
I think he's going to get one eventually
I think
soon.
He's going to get one eventually. In fact, I could see him getting one before Flores.
Yep.
But I think over the next 5-ish years, like I think both, in Brian's case, gets another opportunity. Josh gets an opportunity. But yeah, like that's the next evolution for Josh is calling plays. That's not changing anytime soon here. Highly thought of enough. And so, yeah, if he has an opportunity to go call plays, yeah, that makes to me a ton of sense. So, yeah, I mean, heck. But like, how does the rest of this year go? Right. So I saw the note that right now they're projected to be an underdog in 10 of their 12 remaining games. Now there's fluidity to that. By the time we get to the game in Dallas, maybe the Vikings are favored in that game. But right now, the Vikings would be an underdog in Dallas. We're talking the home game against Chicago, the road game against the New York Giants. Otherwise, right now, the Vikings are looking at being a dog in 10 games. Are they a playoff team? Can they get to 10 victories? Are there 7 wins to be had? I know you guys went up and down the schedule on Monday. Judd, I think you had them finishing at 9. Phil, you had them finishing, correct me if I'm wrong, at 10. But can they get to 7-5 to finish 10-7? I think that gets you in. But then I'm looking at the landscape of the NFC. Like you think about this weekend, right? Like Atlanta beats Buffalo. NFC team beats AFC team. The Rams beat the Ravens. NFC team beats AFC team. The Seahawks, NFC team, beats Jacksonville. AFC team. Outside of New Orleans, there's 15 teams in the NFC with at least 2 victories. So, like, if the Vikings are a non-playoff team, I don't know. Like, are those guys super appealing? I still think enough, especially McCown being given an opportunity to call plays. McCardle's another guy. They're a wide receivers coach who's interviewed for some OC jobs. That, to me, the next evolution eventually for him is he'll have an opportunity to call plays. I don't think that's far from happening. In fact, I wouldn't have been shocked if it had happened this year in New Orleans or somewhere else, but it didn't. Now, New Orleans went the Kellen Moore direction, but there was some dialogue. Maybe it was 2 years ago, but Kellen's been in the mix for some play calling opportunity. So I think that is going to happen. I don't have a good feel on how this season exactly is going to finish. I think I lean a little bit more toward you're thinking, Phil, they can get to 10, but if it's 9, like you're thinking, Judd, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't think it's 8, but I also don't think it's 11. I think it's one of those two. I think it's 9 or 10. But it is interesting that right now they're projected to be an underdog in all these games.
Yeah, let's actually talk more about the landscape of the conference and even the division after the Bears won last night here in just a moment. But you can get these Justin Jefferson Pepsi souvenir cups that I'm holding right here for the YouTube audience. You can get these inside Buffalo Wild Wings locations. So all you have to do is go to a B-Dubs and get one of these little Justin Jefferson cups, fill it with, well, they'll do it for you. They'll fill some Pepsi up in there, maybe some ice or no ice if you want to maximize. And you can scan the QR code and enter to win Victor's Ride, a Polaris 1000 ATV. And all you have to do is scan the code on the side of the cup. Excuse me. Need some Pepsi to wash down my phlegm here, apparently. And boom, you can be entered to win this thing. So stop into a B-Dubs. Limited supplies, by the way. So act now. Get in there for lunch maybe today or sometime before the weekend. Pepsi is the official beverage of the Minnesota Vikings. And again, a shout out to Buffalo Wild Wings for carrying these cups here. Also, Park Dental, the official dentist of Purple Daily, or at least me anyways. I had a great appointment there a couple weeks ago. Who's got 2 thumbs and no cavities? This guy right here. Park Dental, 50 years of caring for and cleaning teeth in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. They treat patients of all ages. So if you've got kids, if you've got, maybe your grandparents are in need of a dentist, whatever it may be, you can schedule a checkup at parkdental.com. Many practices open at 7 a.m. and a lot are open until 8 p.m. at least one night a week so that you can navigate pre and post work hours. Again, schedule your checkup at parkdental.com. So yeah, Dukes, the division after the Bears, The Bears are better than they were a year ago for sure. Clearly, like, they're better coached, better offensive system, all these things. And also, they were gifted that game with that fumble. It was wet, raining, and then Jaden Daniels loses control of the football while he's trying to hand it off. Oh, here's a gimme. The Bears get the ball now at like the 50-yard line. And they did what they had to do. But right now, the Vikings and Bears are tied at the bottom of the NFC North at 3-2. And to your earlier point about the NFC in general, 12 of the 16 teams right now are at least 500. And the Cowboys are one of the teams below 500 at 2-3-1, and they've got one of the best offenses in the league so far through the first 6 games. So this division is everything we thought it was going to be in terms of a high floor. And then you got at least 2 or 3 teams that look like they could do something in the playoffs if the Vikings get their quarterback situation right. So it's pretty loaded, Dukes.
I mean, right now, of the 16 NFC teams, Phil, how many can we definitively say right this second, 0 chance to make the playoffs? Okay, New Orleans.
2.
We all agree New Orleans.
Cardinals feel like they're pretty cooked at this point.
Yeah, just about. Giants.
I mean, it's a long shot, but with Scattaboo and Dart, now Neighbors being out is a huge blow, but the Giants are kind of feisty. They're kind of, I don't think they're making the playoffs, but if you're saying, hey, the NFC is like, it's less top heavy and more just a fight among like 10 or 12 teams, would it shock me if the Giants won 8 or 9 games? No, it wouldn't.
No, but you're probably right. Okay, maybe 8 is the ceiling. So, okay, probably not this year making the playoffs. Not far away, but not this year. Carolina, Dallas. So even if we grant all 5 of those, Carolina, Dallas, Giants, Saints, and Arizona, that still leaves 11 teams competing for 7 spots. So who are the 4 not making it among those remaining 11? I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard. I thought the Vikings were a playoff team preseason, so why should I waver at this point? Although, so the Vikings have played, what is it? I'll do the simple math. So 5 games times 4 quarters, 20 quarters. They've had, 4 good quarters against the Bengals, 1 against the Bears, the 4th quarter against Pittsburgh, and the 4th quarter against Cleveland. Is that where we're at? So what is that, 7 or 8 of the 20 quarters where you're like, okay, legit team?
Offensively. Yeah, defensively, right? they've had more good quarters defensively. But yeah.
Sure. But, like, I don't know. Is it much more than that? So 7 or 8 quarters. Okay, defensively, maybe it's about half, but they're probably fortunate at this point to be 3-2, frankly.
But Dukes, the thing is that there are in the conference, at least, if not the entire league, there are a ton of fan bases who feel like this one does. It's the same thing. Like in watching the Red Zone on Sunday, like what's happening with the Vikings to a T is happening to a ton of teams. Injuries are huge. I mean, the 49ers are decimated. You think the Vikings have it bad? The 49ers are decimated. Detroit had, I believe, 4 or 5 defensive backs out, defensive players out on Sunday. So like in a vacuum, if you look at the Vikings, it's like, oh boy, McCarthy's not working out. You got all these injuries. It doesn't feel like our year. But then you look around the conference and you watch these games, and man, it is permeating this league, which makes it fun and frustrating. But like, if we say right now, boy, I think the Vikings are in trouble, how many teams can we say that about? That's what I find. Like Tampa Bay's off to a great start, and Baker's played lights out. But that's the exception, not the rule. So that's where I think the season is so interesting, is you have so many teams, especially in the conference, that feel very identical to what the Vikings are experiencing. Might not be the quarterback is the same, but there's something, or there's injuries that are definitely affecting them. And so they're not as good as we thought, or in some cases, not as bad as we thought they were going to be.
Well, even Tampa, right? Tristan Wirfs and Mike Evans. And
their wide receivers were all out on Sunday.
At some point, but
yeah,
they've had their share of injuries. So, yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, the NFL league office in New York is loving this, right? Like, it's even across the board. Like, you can't feel good about anyone. Like 2 weeks ago, you felt really good about Buffalo on the AFC side of things. Now, you're like poking all these holes in the Buffalo.
Buffalo can't stop the run.
The board.
Yeah.
Who do you feel really good about?
Yeah.
Yeah, but well, you know who? Kansas City, actually. I know they've lost some games, but their offense is clicking more. They're going to get Rashee Rice back, and it kind of felt like there was a couple different teams that had a real shot to dagger the Chiefs early when they were 0-2 and when they 1-3, whatever it was. And here they are. They're 3-3. The offense is getting going, and their defense on the Vikings, I would say at 3-2 and a plus 26 point differential, with half of your projected starters missing huge chunks of time in the first 5 weeks, I would say it's a pretty incredible accomplishment to be 3-2.
Oh,
now you gotta play this tough schedule and win some games, get fully healthy, get your quarterback situation figured out. But now it's time to go.
All right, but you brought up the point differential. What is it? Plus 26, you said?
Yep.
Okay, skewed by week 3, right? Like everything's skewed by week 3.
Yeah.
Where are they overall right now, turnover differential wise? But then you think about the last 2 games, they didn't even create 1 turnover. It seems like the Cincinnati game has skewed a lot of things.
O'Connell talked about it off the top of his press conference on Monday, and I agree completely. If you clean up the fumble, if you clean up the turnovers and the penalties, like those are things that you can pretty much control, right? Like you can't control injuries. There's a ton of things that are outside of your purview. But when you look at the penalties, which, I mean, this team has taken, I believe their lowest penalty total of the season came against Cleveland and was 7. And I believe they finished last season as a plus 12 in turnover differential, and they're a minus 2 right now. And they had 2 huge ones against the Browns that clearly cost them points. If you clean that up, I think you're in decent shape. You might not be in great shape all the time, but I think you're in decent shape.
And I think you can clean that up, and getting some of these guys back will certainly help. So, it's not Joe Huber and Justin School committing some of these pre-snap penalties. It'll also help. I mean, we didn't bring up the name Harrison Smith. My understanding is, the kitty wheels are about to come off. That whatever that looks like with his role, like Theo Jackson leads the defense in snaps so far this year. Who had that on the bingo card through 5 games? But Harrison Smith should be in a much better spot to play whatever more snaps looks like, more snaps starting on Sunday against the Eagles. Christian Darrisaw, my understanding is, in a pretty good spot. So I've not been told he's on some sort of pitch count again against the Eagles like he was against the Browns. I also think they can tackle better, clearly. Like they didn't tackle well at all week 2. Not that anyone is tackling Bijan Robinson at this point. Man alive, did he put on another show last night? But, even Judkins and, Gainwell and all that, like they can tackle better. I also just think, now, hey, we have the goofiness of the Thursday night game having to travel on Wednesday, but just getting back into some sort of semi-routine. Like it's been a month since we've been at US Bank Stadium. It's been a month since they've had a Sunday noon game.
Yeah.
Just some of that normalcy. Like I don't know how to quantify it exactly, but it does matter. That's why I feel pretty good, even if projections right now have them as an underdog in 10 of their remaining 12 games. I do feel good about them winning enough games to get into the playoffs to get to 10 victories.
Darren Doogie Wolfson. We'll have more on Thursday, and we will know more about the quarterback situation perhaps by then, and certainly the injury report, which will be officially out next time we podcast together here on Purple Daily Dukes. But great stuff, man.
Sounds good, boys. One other note, the Vikings will have scouting representation Friday night, Huntington Bank Stadium. Gophers against Cornhuskers.
It's a big one. Dude, the Huskers are... They don't play Ohio State. They don't play Oregon. They do have Penn State, who's just a disaster. So the Huskers are kind of hunting sneakily for the college football playoff if they keep winning. So it's a big,
quarterback's intriguing. I know he threw a bunch of interceptions last week against Maryland, although played really well at the very end of the game. But they have enough interesting players. There's a reason why Nebraska. I mean, the point spread opened at like 5 or 5.5. It jumped by a couple points. Snap of the fingers. Nebraska is now a pretty healthy favorite. By the way, I would take the Gophers in those points. Not saying they win on Friday, but right now the number's too big, whether it's 7 or 8.
Will PJ Fleck be in the running for the Nebraska job when Matt Rule becomes the Penn State coach is my question.
Wow, dude. Wow.
Because Matt Rule is going to Penn State. You can write that down. In fact,
I feel confident saying PJ will not be in the mix for the Penn State job, whether it's Matt Rule or someone else. I mean, his name was kicked about for the UCLA job. Now, hey, I don't even know who the interim coach is, but clearly he's doing a pretty good job. So maybe UCLA doesn't need to really do much. But He was in the mix previously. UCLA, although, there's a reason why the Midwest makes a lot of sense for PJ Fleck. And hey, he
Heartland.
loves working for Mark Coyle, so I think PJ is going to be here for a bit.
Yeah.
All right.
All right,
See you,
folks.
dudes.
Darren Doogie Wolfson. We'll see you
All
on
right, boys.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Purple Daily, 365 days a year, just slinging Vikings takes. See you guys.